The anomaly. Commander Sophia Reed squinted at the readout on her tablet, then back at the strange formation jutting from the rusty Martian landscape. Something wasn't adding up. The geological survey had shown nothing unusual about this area yesterday, but the morning scans revealed electromagnetic anomalies that shouldn't exist on a supposedly dead planet. "Dr. Nakamura, are you seeing this?" she called over the comm system. The Japanese geophysicist was already kneeling at the base of the formation, his specialized equipment humming softly as it analyzed the unusual readings. "Yes, Commander. These patterns are not natural. The symmetry is too perfect." Reed watched as the rest of her 5-person team gathered around the strange rock formation. They were 3 months into their mission at Olympus Base, the first permanent human settlement on Mars, and this was potentially their most significant discovery yet. Could it be from a previous mission? Asked Dr. Elena Costa, their exobiologist. Maybe equipment left behind from one of the old rover expeditions. Lieutenant Marcus Chen, their security officer, shook his head. "No mission has ever deployed to this region. We're 200 kilometers from the nearest previous landing site." Dr. Aidan Wallace, the team's technology specialist, was already circling the formation with his scanner. "Commander, you need to see this," he said, his Australian accent thickening with excitement. "There's a cavity beneath us. A big one." Reed joined him, studying the holographic projection from his scanner. An enormous empty space extended beneath the Martian soil, at least 30 meters in diameter. "That's not possible," she murmured. "The ground surveys from orbit never showed this." "Because it wasn't visible until now," Nakamura said, brushing red dust from a section of the formation. "Look at this." As his gloved hand cleared away centuries of accumulated dust, intricate patterns emerged on the surface, geometric designs that were unmistakably artificial. The team fell silent, the implications of what they were seeing settling heavily on each of them. "Those are not random," Costa whispered. "Those are symbols. Language." Wallace's scanner beeped urgently. The electromagnetic readings just spiked. "Whatever this is, it's powering up." Before Reed could issue an order, the ground beneath them trembled. The symbols on the rock face illuminated with a soft blue glow, pulsing in sequence. "Everyone back," Reed commanded, but it was too late. The formation split open with mechanical precision, revealing a perfectly smooth tunnel leading downward. The air pressure equalized with a soft hiss, impossible for a planet with almost no atmosphere. "We should call this in," Chen suggested, hand moving to his sidearm by reflex. Reed hesitated. Protocol dictated immediate reporting of any significant discoveries, but something gave her pause. Earth would immediately quarantine the site, and corporate interests would be swarming within weeks. "Let's take a preliminary look," she decided. 15 minutes, then we report." They descended into the tunnel, helmet lights cutting through the darkness. The passage was clearly artificial, too symmetrical, too smooth to be natural. The walls were made of an unknown material that seemed to absorb their lights while simultaneously providing a subtle ambient illumination. "This material isn't registering on my scanner," Wallace said, running his gloved hand along the tunnel wall. "It's like it's actively resisting analysis." After descending about 20 meters, the tunnel opened into a vast chamber that took their breath away. The space was perfectly circular, at least 50 meters in diameter, with a domed ceiling that glowed with the same soft blue light as the symbols outside. In the center stood a pedestal supporting what appeared to be a metallic sphere. "My God," breathed Costa, looking around at the pristine condition of the chamber. "This isn't just old. This is ancient." Nakamura checked his equipment. "The air in here is breathable. Earth normal composition, though I wouldn't recommend." Before he could finish, Wallace had already released his helmet seal. Reed started to object, but the technology specialist had already taken a cautious breath. "It's clean," he confirmed. "Actually fresher than the recycled air in our habitats." One by one, they removed their helmets, looking around in wonder at the impossible chamber. The walls were lined with what appeared to be control panels and display screens, all dark and dormant. "This can't be Martian," Chen said, stating what they were all thinking. Mars never had an indigenous civilization capable of this. Reed approached the central pedestal, drawn to the sphere. It was perfectly smooth, about the size of a basketball, and seemed to be made of a material similar to the walls, defying easy classification. "Don't touch it," Chen warned, but Reed was already reaching out. As her fingers made contact with the sphere, it responded instantly. The surface rippled like liquid mercury, and the entire chamber hummed to life. Displays along the walls illuminated, showing schematics, diagrams, and streams of symbols that resembled no known language. The sphere rose from the pedestal, hovering at eye level. Its surface transformed, becoming transparent like glass, revealing complex mechanical components inside that shifted and realigned themselves. Then it projected a holographic image into the center of the chamber, a perfect representation of Earth. "It knows where we're from," Costa whispered. The holographic Earth rotated slowly, then zoomed in on specific locations: the pyramids at Giza, Stonehenge, the Nazca lines, and dozens of other ancient sites. Lines of energy connected them in a complex geometric pattern. "It's showing us something about Earth's ancient structures," Nakamura said, fascinated. "Some kind of relationship between them." The hologram shifted again, this time showing Mars, but not the barren red planet they knew. This Mars was blue and green, with oceans and continents, an atmosphere, and sprawling cities of impossible architecture. "That's impossible," Reed breathed. "Mars was never like that." The sphere pulsed, and the hologram transformed once more. Now it showed human-like figures, but with subtle differences: taller, with slightly elongated skulls and eyes that seemed to catch the light differently. They were shown building massive ships, traveling between Earth and Mars. "Those look like us," Costa said, but not quite. The hologram continued its silent narrative, showing catastrophe striking Mars, massive impacts, cities destroyed, oceans boiling away. The human-like figures evacuated in gray arcs, heading toward Earth. "My God," Reed whispered, "it's saying we came from here. From Mars." The final sequence showed the refugees establishing colonies on Earth, integrating with primitive human populations, and hiding evidence of their origins. A plan was shown: sites constructed around Earth that would one day lead their descendants back to Mars when the time was right. As the hologram faded, the sphere descended back to its pedestal, leaving the team in stunned silence. Wallace was the first to speak. "This changes everything we know about human history." "If it's true," Chen countered, "this could be some kind of alien deception." Nakamura shook his head. "The geological records on Earth have gaps, mass extinctions, and evolutionary leaps that have always puzzled us. If an advanced civilization came to Earth and intermingled with early humans, it would explain the sudden explosion of human civilization," Costa finished. "The abrupt appearance of agriculture, astronomy, mathematics." Reed approached one of the wall displays, which now showed text in multiple Earth languages, including English. The translation process was happening in real time, adapting to their presence. "Listen to this," she said, reading from the screen. "To our descendants, if you are reading this, you have returned to your ancestral home. The great cycle nears completion, and the harbinger approaches once more. What destroyed us will return. You must prepare." "The harbinger?" Chen asked. "What does that mean?" Another display activated, showing a celestial object moving through the solar system. Massive, dark, and seemingly artificial. "Whatever it is," Reed said grimly, "according to this, it's coming back." The chamber rumbled suddenly, and new doorways appeared in the walls, leading deeper into the facility. "There's more to this place," Wallace said, his scanner showing a vast network of chambers and corridors extending for kilometers in all directions. Reed's comm unit buzzed with an incoming transmission from Olympus Base. Commander Reed, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from your location. Please confirm status. She hesitated, looking at her team. They had just discovered information that would rewrite human history and potentially warned of an imminent threat. Once they reported this, they would lose control of the discovery. We need time to understand what we found, she said to her team, before the bureaucrats and corporations take over. What are you suggesting? Chen asked, his military training conflicting with his curiosity. Reed looked around at the ancient chamber, feeling a strange sense of connection to this place, as if some part of her DNA recognized it as home. We have supplies for 3 days, she said decisively. I say we use them to learn everything we can before reporting back. This isn't just about scientific discovery anymore. If that warning is real, this could be about human survival. One by one, her team nodded in agreement. Whatever consequences they might face for this decision, the truth about humanity's origins and its future was too important to risk being suppressed or exploited. As new systems activated throughout the facility, Reed felt both dread and exhilaration. They stood on the threshold of humanity's true history, but that history came with a warning. Something was coming, something that had destroyed their ancestors and forced them to flee to Earth. And according to the ancient message, it would soon return. The return. The exploration team worked feverishly through the Martian night, each discovery more astonishing than the last. The facility, which they now understood was one of several constructed before the ancient cataclysm, was gradually coming alive around them, responding to their presence as if recognizing long-lost children. I've managed to access what seems to be a database, Wallace announced, his fingers dancing across a luminescent interface. The translation algorithm is incredible. It's analyzing our speech patterns and adapting in real time. Reed joined him, watching as images and text streamed across the display. What have you found? History, Wallace replied, his voice hushed with awe. Their history, our history. According to this, an advanced human civilization evolved on Mars billions of years ago, when the planet was still habitable. That's impossible, Nakamura objected. Human evolution occurred on Earth. We have the fossil record. Not exactly, Costa interjected, studying another terminal. We have a fossil record of primate evolution, but the sudden jump from primitive hominids to Homo sapiens has always been a mystery. There's a gap in our evolutionary history that scientists have never adequately explained. The displays showed detailed genetic sequences, comparing ancient Martian DNA with modern human DNA. The similarities were undeniable, with specific markers highlighted that could not have evolved naturally. They engineered us, Costa whispered. Or rather, they engineered themselves to survive on Earth after fleeing Mars. Chen had been mapping the facility, his military training making him methodical despite the overwhelming discoveries. Commander, you need to see this. There's what appears to be a control center 3 levels down. The team descended deeper into the facility, passing chambers filled with technology beyond their comprehension. Some contained what appeared to be dormant machinery, while others housed vast libraries of data crystals. The control center was a vast, circular room dominated by a holographic display of the solar system. As they entered, it activated, showing planetary movements and trajectories spanning thousands of years. Look at that. Reed pointed to a massive object entering the outer solar system, the same mysterious entity they had seen in the first chamber. The Harbinger, Wallace confirmed, accessing the main terminal. According to these records, it appears in our solar system approximately every 50,000 years. What exactly is it? Chen asked, studying the projection with professional interest. Not a natural phenomenon, Wallace read. Artificial. Massive. Technology far beyond even what the ancient Martians possessed. Nakamura frowned. If this thing destroyed an advanced civilization on Mars, what chance would modern Earth have against it? Reed felt a chill despite the regulated temperature of the facility. That's why this place exists. It's not just a record of the past. It's a warning, and possibly a defense. A new alert appeared on the main display, accompanied by a sound that demanded attention. Wallace quickly translated the flashing symbols. "We've got company," he announced grimly. "Multiple vehicles approaching from Olympus base. They'll be here within an hour." "We're out of time," Reed realized. She had known this moment would come, but had hoped for more time to understand what they'd discovered. "We need to contact Earth directly," Costa suggested. "Tell the world what we found before it gets classified and buried." Chen shook his head. "All communications go through Olympus base. They'd block any unauthorized transmission." Reed studied the control center, a decision forming in her mind. What if we use this facility to communicate? These systems were designed to send signals between planets. Wallace was already examining the communications array. It's possible. The power systems are still operational after all this time. But what would we tell them? That humanity originated on Mars, and there's a planet-killing object heading our way. They'd think we've lost our minds. "We send proof," Reed decided. "Data packets with enough evidence that they can't ignore it. Genetic sequences, historical records, and most importantly, the projected path of the Harbinger." The team worked quickly, compiling the most compelling evidence while Wallace figured out how to operate the ancient communication system. Outside, the Martian dust swirled as approaching vehicles drew nearer. "I think I've got it," Wallace finally announced. "The system is designed to target specific communication nodes on Earth, probably the hidden sites mentioned in the first chamber. If those sites still exist, they might still be capable of receiving." "Do it," Reed ordered. Wallace activated the sequence. The entire facility hummed with power as a focused beam of energy shot upward, presumably penetrating the Martian surface without disturbing it. "Message away," Wallace confirmed. "Now we wait." They didn't have to wait long. Within minutes, the facility's sensors detected the arrival of 3 rovers and a transport vehicle outside the entrance. Armed security personnel would be deploying now, following standard containment protocols for potentially hazardous discoveries. "What's our play, Commander?" Chen asked, his hand hovering near his sidearm. Before Reed could answer, the main display changed. A new object appeared in the solar system map, something massive entering from beyond Pluto's orbit. "It's happening now," Nakamura said in disbelief. "The Harbinger, it's already here." The timing couldn't be coincidence. Something about their activation of the facility had triggered an alert system dormant for millennia. Reed's comm unit crackled to life. "Commander Reed, this is Director Hastings. You and your team are ordered to evacuate the structure immediately. This site is now under planetary security jurisdiction." Reed looked at her team, then at the display showing the approaching threat. They had stumbled upon humanity's true origin and its greatest existential threat simultaneously. Whatever consequences they faced for their actions, the truth needed to be preserved. "Director," she responded, "we've discovered something of critical importance to Earth's security. I suggest you bring your team inside rather than removing us." "That's not how this works, Commander. You have 5 minutes to comply before we enter and extract you." Wallace had been working frantically at one of the terminals. "Commander," he said urgently, "I think I've found something. This facility has defensive capabilities. It's part of a network designed to protect both Mars and Earth." "Can you activate it?" Reed asked. "I'm trying, but it requires some kind of biological authentication. It needs," he paused, studying the symbols, "it needs someone with the right genetic markers." Reed stepped forward on instinct. "The descendants returning home," she murmured, remembering the first message. She placed her hand on the indicated panel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then her palm began to tingle as the surface beneath it glowed. A thin needle extended from the panel, pricking her finger before retracting. "DNA sample accepted." Wallace translated as new symbols appeared. "Partial activation authorized." The room transformed around them. New holographic displays materialized, showing defense systems across Mars and, surprisingly, Earth as well. Hidden installations buried beneath ancient sites around their home planet were coming online, responding to the signal they had sent. "It's working," Wallace breathed. "Earth is being notified through channels outside normal communication networks." Director Hastings' voice came through the comm again, now with unmistakable urgency. "Commander, we're detecting massive energy fluctuations from your location. What have you activated?" Before Reed could respond, the facility's main display showed a new message, this time in clear English. HRBNGRDTHTTD. Planetary Defense. Ni Tavor Kinite. AE. Any. All ELIJWBLGENETICDEC and DNTs REQU Easted to interface with Ni Arias T and OD. They engineered us, Costa realized, not just to survive on Earth, but to be able to operate their technology when the time came. We're the keys to their defense system. The ground shook as more systems activated deeper within the facility. On the solar system display, they could see the Harbinger accelerating toward the inner planets. "Director," Reed said into her comm, "I strongly suggest you contact Earth Command immediately. Tell them to look for unusual energy signatures at these locations." She read off a list of coordinates that corresponded to ancient sites around Earth. "They're going to find installations similar to this one activating worldwide." There was a long pause before Hastings responded. His tone completely changed. "We're receiving reports from Earth now. Something's happening at those exact locations. What have you found, Commander?" "The truth about where we came from," Reed answered, "and possibly our only hope for survival." The entrance to the control center slid open, and armed security personnel entered, followed by Director Hastings himself. His expression changed from anger to awe as he took in the ancient technology surrounding them. "My God," he whispered. Reed turned to face him. "Director, I believe humanity is facing an extinction-level threat. This facility and others like it were built by our ancestors, original humans who evolved on Mars billions of years ago before fleeing to Earth after a catastrophe." She pointed to the display showing the approaching Harbinger. "That's what destroyed them, and it returned cyclically. According to these records, it's destroyed advanced civilizations across our region of space for billions of years. Why haven't we detected it before now?" Hastings demanded. "It was beyond our technological capability to detect," Wallace explained. "It's designed to be invisible until it's almost upon its target." Hastings stared at the display, the implications sinking in. "What can we do?" Reed placed her hand on the control panel again, and new information appeared. "We fight," she said simply. "Our ancestors left us the tools, hidden in plain sight around our planet. They engineered specific genetic markers into us so that when the time came, we could activate their defensive systems. They knew we would return to Mars eventually," Costa added. "They knew we would need to rediscover our past to face this threat." The facility rumbled again as more systems came online, responding to the increased human presence, more potential genetic matches to fully activate its capabilities. "We need to get this information to Earth immediately," Hastings decided, military practicality overriding bureaucratic protocol. "And we need more personnel here to fully activate whatever this is." Reed nodded in agreement. The petty concerns of career advancement and scientific credit had vanished in the face of what they now understood. Humanity had originated on Mars, fled to Earth, and now had returned just in time to face the ancient enemy that had driven them away. "We've come full circle," she said, looking at the display showing both planets, the red one that had been their first home, and the blue one that had sheltered them. "Maybe this time, we can stand our ground." As if in response to her words, new symbols appeared on the main display. "Defense netted work at 12%, KAPCTY, and rising. Estimated 89%, required for EFFET, COMT or MEAs. It won't be enough, Hastings realized. Not just us here on Mars. No, Reed agreed. We need humanity to unite, all of us, with our forgotten knowledge and these ancient defenses. The final display showed a timeline. Less than 30 days until the Harbinger reached Earth orbit. Reed straightened her shoulders, a new determination filling her. The discovery that humanity had once fled rather than fight might have seemed like a defeat, but she saw it differently. Their ancestors had ensured their survival, preserved their species, and left behind the means to one day stand against the threat. This time, humanity wouldn't run. This time, with the knowledge of who they truly were and the technology their ancestors had left them, they would face the Harbinger together. "Let's get to work," she said.